What can, you know what?
Going out.
This gonna be a problem.
No, it's not. Ain't gonna be no problem.
Don't make me have to ask the question, where's Jermaine?
Don't do that.
I mean,
Nah.
so welcome to the show. It is Michelle Bryant here, WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM. You are listening to Say Something Real, and we're gonna have some problems already.
No, we ain't.
You know, Jermaine, I don't know where Jermaine at. I don't know where he at.
We ain't gonna have no problem.
Somewhere on a special break. I have no idea where he is. But Clark.
Who you with?
Nah. Clark's sitting behind the control board. And so, you know, we ready. It's time to do the show. So I'm like, okay, tee it up. Let's go. And he said, we in. We out. Right behind each other. I'm like, what we doing?
Ain't nothing like a good laugh.
You know what, Clark?
Let's roll.
Oh, now you ready. Okay. Trying to hurry me along. Talking about we in, we out. Kind of directions. And then that was like when Debo did it. He breaker 19. Like, what the hell? Like, you know, he was like, well, you was complaining I wasn't doing so. Yeah. I don't know. We just, man, just a little training go a long way. Good morning to the bros in the studio. What's up, Clark Kent?
Who you with?
I guess what you today, bro? I guess so. Feel a little shaky, but we gonna get it done.
Ain't gonna be no
man, you tapping in that gear though. That looks nice. The whole Brewers fit.
Thank you.
Is this in honor of opening day?
Yes.
So for folks that, you know, you can't turn on the local news, even national news, and not appreciate that it is opening day for the Milwaukee Brewers. They are playing the Chicago White Sox. First pitch, 1:10 p.m. And it's getting ready to be a hot mess. The parking lot's going to open at 10:10, not 10 o'clock, 10:10. And the stadium gates open at, not 11 o'clock, but 11:10. So I don't know what the significance of the 10 is as opposed to starting at the top of the hour, bottom of the hour. But, yep, they playing the White Sox. Game is sold out. There is some standing room. They said they had a little bit of that left. So do you and tailgating, you know, they getting ready to jump, they getting ready to set it off today. And the weather's going to be pretty decent.
Yes.
Because of what it could be in Wisconsin on March 26th. So are you a baseball fan?
No. Man, I
did all that. You got all this. Man, you know, Byron, you know, put the camera on here, man.
Because I always go to open the day, you know, just to, you know.
Oh, you do go though?
Yeah, I do go because you know it's a lot of friends. They have a bus.
Okay.
So it's like about 3 or 4 bars. They get a bus and they all go.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so you hanging out there?
Yeah.
You just there kicking.
I'm just hanging. Don't go see no games.
Yeah, that sounds like me when folks go
drinking.
skiing. I'm just at the hot little resort area. I'm not skiing. I just want to ride the lift and then come back. But okay, so you just out there?
Yeah, I'm just out there.
Okay.
I mean, going to a Brewers game, to me, I done been to a lot of them, and they boring.
It was when spitting my coffee out. You didn't know.
Sitting there, they bored, just sitting there.
You know, I mean, it's an acquired thing.
Yeah.
And particularly if you go inning after inning with no hits, it can be rough. It can be a little rough.
Right.
But I always tell people the reason I am even aware of Milwaukee outside of Laverne and Shirley is that in 1982, the Brewers were in I think it was the World Series in 82. And I ended up coming to Wisconsin for a game with a friend. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, you know, the game was fun. It was amazing. But that was my first introduction really to actually coming to the city of Milwaukee was I came up for a game in 82. But baseball is huge in our family. My grandfather was Atlanta Braves, and man, it could be hot as fire in Birmingham. He would be outside with that TV outside on the back screened in porch,
Yeah.
drinking coffee and watching the game. And I sit down with him and then he'll explain this and explain that. But yeah, you go south, baseball is huge.
Yeah.
Texas baseball is huge. So I'm excited for people to have a good time. Anything that can relieve a little bit of the stress, the pressure from what we are seeing today. I'm good
Yeah.
with that. I'm good
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me also say we got another brother in the studio who is not a regular with me. What's up,
Good morning.
not good morning. How old are you? Tell us some good morning.
29.
Oh my God. 29. Sounded like 92 over there. Tell us some good
I
morning.
got an old
Yeah, what you say? You're an old soul?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you passed the old soul. You good though? How that baby doing?
Drive me crazy.
I'm sorry. What are you saying? A baby driving you crazy?
It's insane.
What's the problem, Byron? What's the problem?
She go all day. From the moment she get up to the moment she lay down.
Wait,
She
now
gone.
how old is she again?
She about to be 2.
About to be
Oh, that's
two.
how you hear
Yeah.
this going around.
Speaking from experience, sorry. And so you a little wore out. You can't keep up with an almost 2-year-old, and you only 29.
Affirmative.
You know what? Well, I'm actually gonna feel bad for you. Hey, Adeline. Good morning, sis. I saw you just tapped in. I'm actually feel bad for you. It is real. Dealing with the little one. So
You
I got it.
gotta
What?
tell you, because we gotta tell the listener about no phone calls.
Oh,
We out of phone service for right now.
well, don't say it like we didn't pay the bill. So we're upgrading technology here in the studio, and so a new phone system is going in, and so we will not be able to take calls today as the techs are working to get us up and running. So don't listen to Clark. AT&T didn't snatch our service.
You don't know what they're gonna say anyway.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna say. You know what? The phones were working at NOV.
They ain't paid
They
their bill.
paid their bills. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's all in what you do and how you say it, though. Good morning to all you fabulous people on YouTube and Facebook. Barbara Smith, I see you. Good morning, sis. Carolyn Evans. What's that? Al Walters. What's happening? Good morning, fam. Good morning, Daryl Carter. The Bros is up in here. Hey, Ebony. Hey, Eval. What's up, Jermaine Harrington? I see Curly Q. Now that's a name for you. Good morning, Miss Harris. Good morning. Good morning. Wait. Oh, see, I read that so wrong. So what it says is the Lotus Experience 8. But because I started looking at his tagline in the middle, it looked like it says sex experience. I was like, wait, what's going on right now? Yeah, nah, bro. Look, no service, call 211. See, why y'all play? You know what? White people go rib. We the only people will rib at a funeral. And rib the person in the casket. We are so, and people will laugh. We are so messed up.
I don't know why they put that suit on.
Wait, did y'all see that story on the news last night about the brother that wrapped the caskets?
Wrap the casket.
Yeah, let me see. Casket wrapping. It's classes. Casket wrapping classes. In Milwaukee. Yeah, it's this brother who said in West Dallas. It was on TMJ4 News, and he said he wraps cars. So you know how like you see those cars that basically is like advertising something,
Yeah.
and the whole car is done. He wraps cars, and he said his wife, they were burying, I don't know if it was her father or a family member, but she wanted the top of the casket wrapped. And I guess like they did a photo and stuff of the person, the loved one. And he said, he was like, yeah, I don't know if I could do that. But he said he tried it and he did it. It turned out beautifully. And now he said he is basically making more money on casket wrapping than on doing cars. And so his company, uh, he says that wrapping these caskets can run anywhere from 800. I'm sorry, I think it was like $500 to no, from $800 to $5,000. He wraps about 15 caskets a month. So I have not been to a funeral yet where the casket has been wrapped, depending on the level of customization that he wants. But he said he started doing he started wrapping cars 5 years ago. And it was her father. His wife wanted him to do her father's casket. And he said he was nervous. But for the past 3 years, he's been wrapping caskets in his studio in West Allis. And so I'm looking at some of the caskets, and the work is phenomenal. And they can take pictures, images, whatever you want. And the top of that casket, like this one, it says Darnell Smith that he's standing next to. He hasn't wrapped it yet. But man, I mean, when you talk about like the ultimate personalization, it's crazy. I would have never even thought about wrapping a casket. Huh? The top, yep. So this is like where he hasn't started it yet. But let me go up here. So here's one that got done. There's one that got done. Look at that. So yeah, so you all can go to TMJ's website and see what it looks like, but it's phenomenal. And so like that cover of that obituary, or all the little cover photos, whatever you want, it looks like he can put it on here. So yeah, you made me think of that. All right, y'all. A lot to get to this morning. A lot. Good morning, Angela. What's happening? Checking in. Hey, Dion. What's going on, Shelby? Tell my man I said good morning. Good morning. Someone said I saw a story. It's becoming popular. Yeah, I had never seen it. Hey, Anna, how you doing this morning, sis? I never would have thought about it. All right, so a couple of things to get to this morning. I think it's apropos though to start with the crisis that's looming around us. We are now in, I believe it's day 41 of the partial government shutdown. This is top of mind for me because we are getting ready to venture out on an HBCU college tour. We have babies that are going with us. We're flying into Houston, and then we will do road travel, going all down through the South. We'll be going to Grambling, different schools in the South. We'll end up in Huntsville, Alabama, at Alabama A&M. And then we were going to, go over to Atlanta and fly out. But we've since made the decision not to fly out of Atlanta. Huntsville has a small airport. We hoping we can, we'll be good there because we still got to go to Atlanta. But if we are able to fly from Huntsville into ATL's airport, then we bypass having to go through TSA because we'll already be in the airport. So that was the grand hustle move that we came up with, trying not to miss these flights. There were stories on yesterday that showed folks in line 4 and 5 hours in the Houston airports, in the Atlanta airports. People were missing flights. Folks said we got here 4 hours early and we still missed our flight. And some folks had to leave and come back today. So TSA agents now, second full missed paycheck. Donald Trump has told Republicans that they are to do no deals with the Democrats. They are to do no deals with the Democrats. It is either going to be his way or the highway. He is pressuring Republicans who have, I think 10 votes have been taken, trying to figure out if we can fund this agency, and, pull DHS out, Department of Homeland Security out, but let these other agencies be funded, FEMA, TSA. It's 3 or 4 of them. We need to get funded. And so the Republicans were like, okay, we can do that. and then come back on DHS. Then the Republicans wanted to pull a move and say, we'll open those other agencies, but then we want to be able to do whatever we want to on DHS. And the Democrats is like, are y'all special? That's the whole reason we here today, because we don't want y'all doing whatever y'all want to do on DHS. So you tell, and this is the thing that I just need to say, and I want to be as crystal clear about it as possible. So Republicans, and in particular Donald Trump, who is sitting on gazillions of dollars because he is fleecing the American presidency for everything that it's worth. So you are willing to have 50,000 people in TSA has roughly about 50,000 employees. So you are willing to have 50,000 people go unpaid. People have quit. Yesterday, I heard the number was up to 480 TSA workers who have now quit the job. They talking about folks are selling blood, plasma. Folks are sleeping in their cars. Some folks have already, they showed one TSA worker at the food bank getting food, free food, because she couldn't, buy food. Because you won't make ICE officers take masks off. And that they need to have a judicial warrant before they go up in somebody's house or business. Those are the main two issues that are at the crux of this whole thing. And that Republicans and this ignorant president wants to stand on these people being able to shield their faces. They had made a concession about at least letting them wear a badge or a name placard to identify their name, because people are being handled, roughed up, taken into custody by people. They have no idea who these people are. And if somebody does something to you while you're in care, you have no ability to say it was Officer Morales, it was Officer Bryant, because there's no identification. This goes against all law enforcement policy that we see around the country. Why are they allowed to wear masks? What are you hiding from? Because y'all big baller shot callers, you see how they handle people all rough? They rush in looking like the mob, but you don't want nobody to know who you are, because it's easy to do dirt behind a mask. So we're going to let people be in line for hours. We're going to let industries, suffer because you don't want to budge on somebody saying, make this law enforcement agency do what every other law enforcement agency in this country has to do. Do that. Do that. So he has told the Republicans no deals with the Democrats. And this is the other thing. Isn't that what our government is supposed to be about? We all get to have our own political ideology, beliefs about how things are supposed to be done. At some point, though, we are supposed to come to the table, meet somewhere in the middle, wherever we can. Sometimes one party is in power and they're able to kind of steamroll things through or stop things from getting through. But there will be times, and they take usually great pride in saying this is bipartisan. We had Dems and Republicans and independents on this bill. But this man continues to divide this nation in a way that's so ugly and so ignorant. And you have lawmakers who know better. Now, a lot of these lawmakers, some of these lawmakers that are new, they stupid. And they came in under the Trump mentality. And they really are bringing their poison to the congressional offices. But it's a lot of old head Republicans who know better. That you're not there to never work with Democrats. Democrats are not the enemy. They got a difference of opinion, but they're not your political enemy. But the way Donald Trump has set all this up is us against them. These people are getting ready to go on a 2-week break. If they don't get this figured out today, they start a 2-week break tomorrow. That would mean a third paycheck miss by TSA agents. How long y'all think people are going to keep doing this? They said in Atlanta, I think it was in Atlanta, in one part of the airport, there usually are 8 lines for TSA because Atlanta is a major hub. They were down to 2 lines yesterday. 2 lines that you could go through to check in for TSA. 2. These lines are now being extended to different floor levels and out the door because Republicans don't want to make ICE agents take a mask off and put on a name badge and get a judicial warrant before they go in somebody's home or business. And the new guy that was coming in as Homeland Security, he said, I'm willing to get the judicial warrants. Trump is overruling all of that. And you see how easy it is. And then I got to take a break. But you see how easy it is for people who are not hurting because you jump on a private plane every day and go to your dang golf courses and live, your fat, greasy life with your maid servants and everybody running around. You got plenty of food in your refrigerators, industrial size. You have all the comforts. Your wife gets $24 million for the most ridiculous documentary leading 20 days leading up to her, picking out her outfits for the inauguration. Just the most ridiculous nonsense. Y'all got millions of dollars. So you're not missing a meal. We can tell by the back of your pants. You ain't missing a sandwich. Not one bag of McDonald's. And you talking about people are sleeping in their cars and selling blood, and Republicans stand in front of the cameras and try to look as sincere and genuine as possible. If the Democrats would just cooperate. Cooperation goes both ways. And you have the leader of the Republican Party in Donald Trump saying, you are to do no deals with these people. Trump initially made the demand last night on Truth Social, doubled down on it, in which he was saying, and I quote, you don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter, going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus. Okay, make this one for Jesus, is what he said about them going ahead and doing the congressional recess. That's what he said. I gotta go to break, but this man literally said, you quote, you don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus. He went on to say the most important part of Homeland Security is voter ID and proof of citizenship. Why the hell is that the most important part of Homeland Security? Why? Nobody can vote on Homeland Security without voter ID because what he's trying to do is tie this to the SAVE Act. And he has told them, I'm not doing nothing until y'all get me passage of the SAVE Act. And there are Republicans who are trying to tell him, hey, fool, you gonna mess up Republican voters while you trying to clown Democrats. You're going to mess up elderly Republican voters. You're going to mess up rural Republican voters. You're going to mess up members of our party while you're trying to be petty, small, and vindictive because you didn't know how to be a man and handle losing your last election. I got to take a break. I'll be right back. Family, welcome back to the show. And yeah, y'all, if you want to text me to make a comment, my cell phone number is 414-499-2827. A number of people already have my number, so I'm getting the comments. I see them. I'm trying to pay attention on YouTube as well. And somebody, one of my folks, she said, "Hey, don't forget, this is tied to uh Project 2025." And I told her, yes. In fact, you can find it, I believe, on page 118. I am aware. So for other folks that may know a little bit about it or may not be up on this piece of it at all, in Project 2025, and I'm taking this directly from this article that was really well done about this whole thing. Project 2025 does not whisper about the future of the TSA, it spells it out. In the Heritage Foundation's Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise, published back in 2023. So it's 2026. It was published 3 years ago as a governing blueprint for a second Trump presidency. The Department of Homeland Security chapter makes it clear what it intends to do. It states plainly that the TSA, quote, should be privatized and that the TSA workforce should be, quote, deunionized immediately. This is not, and I'm just going to paraphrase some of it. It's not vague language or an interpretation. It is written directly into the plan. Like I said, for folks who have access to Project 2025, I believe it was around page 118 or started somewhere around there. And what that does is set the stage for two things happening at once: strip protections from the people who actually run airport security, and then hand that system over to private contractors. Because, see, Donald Trump and a lot of these people that support him, they are all about the ability of transferring power and authority from the federal government into the hands of private individuals who often we have seen mishandle, misuse, steal, do all kinds of nonsense while messing over workers in the process. Many of these federal, agencies have to operate by certain standards in terms of employment law. If the unions are allowed, respecting contract negotiations, they have the ability not to do that once they become privatized and are no longer able to be unionized. So TSA was created, for people who don't remember, after 9/11 for a reason. Airport security was fragmented, inconsistent, and in some cases outsourced before in ways that prioritized cost over safety. So the federal government stepped in and said, hold on, no, we can't keep doing it this way. It's got to be centralized. It's got to be standardized, because we just allowed 2 planes to fly into the biggest city in this nation, or one of the biggest in this nation. 3,000 lives are lost. More lives are lost from the residual effect of all of the debris that people inhaled from 9/11. And our security was lax. We didn't have folks get on the planes with the knife in they shoe, and the man with the underwear with all the stuff going on. So they said, no, we got to step in and make sure that the practices are consistent, that we can guarantee passengers a degree of safety. And most people, if you tell the truth, since some of these regulations went in place, you don't necessarily worry about, oh, it's somebody on the plane with a box cutter that's getting ready to scare everyone. Because these people in DC, when that plane got hijacked, they had box cutters. Now, I know if you get cut with a box cutter, it's going to feel like your skin is falling off. But they only had box cutters. I had just this last time, and I'm TSA, pre-check. I had to take off my bracelets because they kept going off when I was going through the metal detectors. So you feel a little bit safer. So that's why TSA was created in the first place. But in Project 2025, what they're asking for is not just a minor policy tweak. It's a full reversal of what we've been doing. It is taking something that was intended to make the public safer and folks accountable, and they want to privatize it, where contracts, incentives, and profit start to shape how security is run. The document even points to expanding the existing screening partnership program, which already allows private contractors at certain airports and scaling that nationwide. So, JoJo the plumber can start the screening company, and that's who's screening us now at the airport. And if he's in a competitive RFP and he's trying to win the contract, the quality of your screening services is not as good as what we were getting from the federal government. So understand that it is encouraging private screening programs across the airports. So many of these people have proven that they are up for sale. I just saw that Michael Flynn, DOJ had the nerve to settle with him for $1.2 million about a wrongful investigation. Mike Flynn was dirty as the day is long, but you getting money now from your friends in the DOJ. It is scandalous what we see. So let's look at what has happened since January of 2025. This is when Trump is back in office. In March 2025, Trump moved to end collective bargaining rights for the 50,000 TSA workers. Okay. He was in office literally for not quite 2 months, because remember, he didn't get sworn in until like January 20th, 21st or something. So most of January is gone. By March, you are trying to end the collective bargaining rights for 50,000 TSA workers. Another reason why I look at so many of these Republican blue collar workers who support Donald Trump, and you don't appreciate, and the Republican Party, and you don't appreciate how these people work to strip away workers' rights every day. That part blows me away. But I guess your racism and your whatever you own is more important than you being able to fairly, not only have employment, retain employment, but be paid fairly and compensated in all of your in your benefits package in a way that is fair and makes sense. But understand, he wants to directly target this workforce. The folks who created Project 2025, they wanted to directly target TSA. So that's why there is no hurry to help out TSA. Because in the background, you got people, this was the plan all along. They didn't want these people to be able to speak up for themselves. They didn't want them to have contract negotiations and labor rights. They wanted to break it so that they could then parcel it out and give TSA to their buddies, they boys, and let them make millions and millions of dollars off the taxpayer, because everything is a damn grand hustle. Everything. So here we come. And let me just go back. Let me not skip over this. So they directly target this workforce to get rid of these workers and weaken it. That decision was announced and set in motion. It got challenged in the courts, and a federal judge later ordered that the collective bargaining agreement be treated as still in effect for now. But the point is not just the outcome. The point is the attempt itself lines up with exactly what the plan said that they wanted to do. So it had to go before a judge to stop Trump from privatizing TSA, breaking it up, and deunionizing these workers. So now here we are. Fast forward, March 2026, okay? Because this is where it stops being abstract, just the plan we talking about, and now everything is starting to hit home in real time. Homeland Security, in the middle of this funding crisis, which started back in February, these folks have been working without pay, as I've already said. The people are quitting, as I've said, because they can't afford to stay. Staffing shortages hitting the airports across the country right now. In response to that exact moment, Trump is now deploying his police department, ICE, into 14 major U.S. airports and they checking IDs and they trying to stand next to the screeners. Now these are not trained TSA screeners. They are not officially, quote, replacing the core security functions, but they the ones in people's face asking them for their ID and all of this. Just look at the video that was out there of an ICE agent forcefully detaining a woman inside the San Francisco International Airport in front of her baby. They handled this woman crazy. Did you see it?
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah.
That. They had her twisting. They was holding the baby, and she moved. It's just
like the way they was handling her arms. You could tell they was applying unnecessary pressure to this woman. So, to be clear, y'all, while folks are telling you we're negotiating, we want to see this, get, satisfied. We want people to be able to get back to work. Some of these people are on BS because this was in the plan. This was in the plan. How many of us, because again, didn't take the time to read it, but they didn't hide it. They put it in a manual. It's out there online for anybody. So there have been U.S. senators, Mike Lee, Tommy Tuberville, who have introduced the, quote, abolish TSA Act of 2025. They did that back in March of last year, as soon as Trump said he wanted to get rid of TSA. And they proposed to get rid of the entire agency and hand it over to privatization. Why would you do that? Why would the federal government turn over security of our airport system completely to privately owned companies? Why would you do that? Where people can be bribed and money can be influence behavior, people let stuff slide, people let people in. Why would you do that? After we lose 3,000 people in one day, buildings fall to the ground like they never existed in one day with some airplanes. It wasn't even, like an atomic bomb. It was airplane fuel. Oh, but wait, that's because what happens when we privatize even the building of the Twin Towers? And they said that the mob bosses was involved in that and that they built the Twin Towers, which were the two buildings that came down on 9/11 with inferior materials that were highly flammable. Remember that part? Because as opposed to somebody in the government connected to the project monitoring materials and what was going on, the mob who was in it for the money, so they was cutting corners wherever they could, they built the Twin Towers and supplied the materials. They were connected to those companies that did that. And people kept trying to figure out, how do buildings like the Twin Towers fall like some Lego blocks? Not even Lego blocks because they interlock. Just some little kids blocks. It fell just like that. I mean, literally, it fell just like that. And we watched it. If you were around, everybody remember where they were when 9/11 happened. You was going to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I woke up. I thought it was a movie.
So it was already on the TV when you woke up? Yep. Okay.
I thought it was a movie. And then I started seeing the news person. I like, oh, this happening for real?
Look, and I tell people, many people that listen to my show, they've heard me say, I was in Walgreens on 76 and Capitol and was in there. I don't know what I was getting. I was getting something before I went to work. And it was just me and two white men as customers in the entire store and the staff. Just only because it was super early. It was just the two of us. And we were all up by the front counter. And all of a sudden, somebody in Walgreens flipped on the switch and the news was playing over the PA system. And so while we're standing there waiting to check out, you hear a plane has just went into, and I forgot which tower was first. Let's just say North Tower. Went to the North Tower, and we're not sure what's happening. And we were just standing there looking at each other. Before we could get out of Walgreens, because now we're frozen. And I'm looking at the white men, they looking at me. Everybody got terror in our eyes. Everybody had fear in their eyes. Like, wait, are we being attacked right now? And then they made that announcement about that second plane.
Yeah.
And so people knew it was an attack. That everybody that's old enough, you remember that fear. When we were sitting there watching that television and we didn't know if there were, and then they said, oh, a plane has been commandeered in DC. Remember that plane went to the ground, even though the conspiracy theorists, no, it didn't. That plane went to the ground. Because the men on that plane fought back, with the hijackers. But we understand the significance of this. So you're going to turn this over to a private security system, a private security company. But again, the Twin Towers fall because private contractors trying to get richer, not do the right thing, built the Twin Towers with subpar materials. It fell like cinder blocks, like matchsticks. So I just want to say I appreciated this article that this reporter had done and reported on so very well. It's even longer. I'm not going to continue to read it all, but to my sister who hit me up and said, hey, remember, this was in Project 2025. I knew exactly because I had just talked about it last night. Can go right to the page numbers. Y'all, a lot of the destruction and the things that we are seeing, some of this stuff is by design. And when Trump is sitting up telling them, do not negotiate with Democrats on Homeland Security, it's in the playbook. And there are people that are grinning, cheesing, and skinning because they are getting exactly what they want. TSA workers in trouble financially, people quitting and leaving the agency. The country is going to be so desperate for normality and or normalcy and for things to get back, to some semblance of what we were used to doing, that they will accept almost anything. That's what this is, a plan. And it's Republicans in Congress who know Project 2025 very, very well. And they know that this was one of the goals of the drafters of the plan, to break TSA's back. I got to take a break. Let me take a break.
Now, back to Say Something Real. V.
Folks, welcome back to the show. For folks looking at YouTube, like, did Michelle start talking? I wasn't paying attention. I was looking down at my phone. But let me say this real quick. I got a couple of text messages I wanted to read. Somebody said exactly what we saw after the 14 senators left, talking about our 14 state senators here in Wisconsin. Takes a long time to fix the divide. Wisconsin has never recovered. They are doing federally exactly what happened by the Walker administration with Milwaukee County, then the state, reduce the system to make it not work, then privatize, because rebuilding is never easy and hardly happens and really never goes back to the old normal. So we have folks that are able to look through the lens of what we saw happening right here in our own city, our own state, to understand this is a tactic. And it's about breaking the backs, quite frankly, of our systems and our workers. And when we already have pay gaps that are so astronomical between what a CEO, upper level management gets by way of, bonuses, all these incentives that these people get, and we don't want to pay people at the lower end of the corporate or company rung livable wages. We don't want to pay health care, but then we don't want to see them be able to be eligible for Medicaid. We don't want to expand the program to help folks that are uninsured or underinsured. Like, we just want to treat you like a slave and a worker who is here for nothing but our personal uplifting gratification. And we're going to do just enough, give you just enough food and water to keep you alive so you can keep coming to work every day. But that American dream, home ownership, those vacations, oh, we going to Disney World, that's getting further and further removed away from people every day. It's getting further and further away. So I wanted to mention that. But now I must. No, wait, I must not. Before I do that, let me just take one quick second, because I posted photos from the New Edition concert on my Facebook page. Okay. And whenever somebody comments on the video or some of the pictures I posted, I get an alert. Like, my phone is pinging now, I get an alert. So if I'm not doing anything, if I got my phone near me and when it goes off, I might pick it up to see what the comment was. And so there was somebody, a sister, who posted under the photo of Bobby Brown that I had put up. I'm gonna paraphrase it, but the gist of it was F Bobby Brown. He killed Whitney. Some more stuff. I hate him. I don't care what happens to him. And I would love to say that I was shocked, but I've had this conversation. I've actually had the conversation with some other people who knew I attended the concert, and they had the same sentiment. F Bobby Brown. He killed Whitney Houston, blah, blah, blah. And, I just had to have a moment. I really did. Because, first of all, Whitney Houston was grown. She was wealthy, and she was capable of making her own decisions. Whitney Houston was getting high before she met Bobby Brown. And in fact, if you watch their reality show, you had moments when you walked away like, oh, no, I thought it was Bobby. On some of this crazy tripped out behavior, some of this was Whitney. And I love Whitney Houston. But that don't mean I can't be honest and tell the truth that Whitney Houston played a role in her own situation. And then they divorce, they break up. So now what's going on? But even if you believe that because of his behavior and his drug use and he influences Whitney Houston, to still be able to look at somebody and say, I don't give a F about him as he loses his daughter, as he loses his son. He, you know, probably for most intensive purposes, probably still love Whitney Houston, even though they weren't together anymore. So he lost his former wife, and now he loses his brother. And to have no compassion for somebody that has done nothing to you, you upset because you feel like they hurt somebody that you adored as a fan. Whitney wasn't your cousin, your mama, your nothing. But I know these deaths can hit us hard because I still can't watch The Cosby Show or The Resident because I loved Malcolm Jamal Warner so much, and it still hurts me that this boy is no longer with us. But some of that is because Malcolm Jamal Warner and my son look so much and act so much alike. So it's even more personal because of the fact that he looks like my son and reminds me of my baby. But I just want to ask people, what kind of person are you that you can't have empathy for somebody who has had so many losses? And let's be clear, nobody introduces other people to drugs with the idea that I'm trying to get you killed. You're a drug addict. Your thinking is not clear. You own stupid. You're not, operating in a good place. So I so loved Whitney Houston that I'm indifferent to your loss, pain, and suffering. And then these people will walk away and think they are a good person. They will think that I am, I'm not like them. I'm great. I'm blah, blah, blah. You're not. If you can't look at other people who are in pain and struggling because of even the choices that they've made that have put them in a certain place, but then you sit your behind up in a church every Sunday, or you sit up in judgment of other people. Like, and one of the people I had the conversation with, I had to stop talking to him because it wasn't going to be no change in his mind. But I wanted to say to him so bad, while you talking about how somebody did this girl, let's look at the relationships in your own situation. They ain't good. It's people don't speak with you or mess with you right now because they believe you was raggedy in the relationships they had with you. But you can't see your stuff, but you can see somebody else's. And that's been bothering me. And I said I wanted to come back and hit that because I just need people to understand we so quick to sit in judgment and you don't see your own flaws and nonsense and the things you've done and the people you've hurt. People need to slow their roll, man. Somebody said Bobby Brown didn't introduce Whitney to Houston to cocaine. Robin Crawford says Bobby Brown didn't introduce her to it. Whitney was out there. And again, I love Whitney. They said it was her brother that got her introduced to cocaine. I don't know who did. But I know all signs point to Whitney was already doing stuff before she hooked up with Bobby Brown. She made some bad choices. But to look and hear somebody lost their daughter or lost their brother, I don't give F them. I'm like, y'all sound crazy. So I got that off my chest. I need to move on. But y'all sound crazy. And let me also say something that is crazy to me. And I want to see how it's getting ready to play out. So some of you have seen on the news that down in Florida, the good folks in the Florida Attorney General's office and the, legislature, even in some cases, they are challenging the NFL, who created the Rooney Rule, which was meant to increase the number of minority coaches and top executives in the league as a part of their diversity and inclusion practices. And now the state attorney general in Florida is warning the NFL that the Rooney Rule and other similar hiring policies are, quote, illegal under Florida civil rights laws. And they are saying and pressing the NFL to confirm by May 1st, it would no longer enforce its policies requiring teams to interview minority candidates, including women, or else the state could take civil rights enforcement action. If I was the NFL, I would be like, well, you know what? I appreciate that that's not legal in your state. We ain't got to play in your state. Because, see, these companies need to stop bending to these silly lawmakers and they racist agendas. You know what kind of money the NFL, let me see if I can figure it out. What kind of money is generated? What kind of money is generated by the NFL in the state of Florida? You know what? I couldn't even get the hard number. It just says billions with an S. Billions. Oh, wait, here's one. It exceeds $146 billion. Just in the state of Florida. You are talking tax revenue. You are talking sales tax on tickets and merchandise, players' incomes, the staff incomes, tourism. NFL teams are stimulating these local economies by hotel stays, restaurant visits, transportations, sports betting. And the teams, the Miami Dolphins, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, generating revenue through home games, parking, stadium concessions. Come for me, Florida. Come for me. I don't care what happened to your teams. Come for me. And not only will I not deal with your owners and will we play no games in Florida, but all y'all colleges that want to send recruits to the NFL, we not taking them. We not doing business in Florida. Because, see, the NFL actually got that kind of weight. If they wanted to do it, they got that kind of weight. Let me just see if I can find a ballpark number. How much money does the NFL generate in revenue? Okay. The NFL is the world's, not the United States, not the country, not the nations. It is the world's wealthiest sports league. It generates $23 billion, or generated $23 billion in total revenue during the 2024 season. Driven primarily by $12 billion in annual national media rights, the league is on track to surpass $25 billion. That's in revenue, y'all. But that's not all of the money that it generates, across all spectrums. That's just what they make. They make $23 billion after they pay all their bills. So what organization has the fiscal FIS, the fiscal heft to be able to tell Florida, kick bricks? When you so right. One of my friends, he do that to me. I get so mad. You so right. You so right. You know what? Don't worry about it. You so right, Florida. We don't want to violate your state laws. Let us come up out of Florida. And every state that mess with us, let somebody back on Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston began using at 16 years old. Her brother Michael Houston gave her first hit snort by his own admission during an interview, I guess, with Oprah Winfrey. So I just want people to know. And Oprah Winfrey and Cissy Houston. Okay, so it was her brother. Okay, so back to this NFL thing and the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule gets put in place because black men and women in the league are intentionally being overlooked because of racist foolishness. You can play, but you're not good enough to be a coach. Back in the day, you can be a running back, but you're not smart enough to be the quarterback. Y'all know the racial, stereotypes and tropes about black folks in the league, and these white men thinking they got the corner on all thing intelligence, strategy, and ability. All we good for is run, nigga, run. That's what we good for. Don't think, boy, just catch the ball. Run, nigga, run. And then we gonna let you marry one of our white daughters so we can take all your money. Run, nigga, run. That's what we good for to the NFL. For years, that's the way it was. I always remember when they talked about when the University of Alabama finally had to integrate their football team because they was playing teams out in California and they had brothers on the team and them brothers was walking the floor on them. And they said, we got to get us some of them. Not, we see the value in diversity and blah. We got to get us some of them niggas that run on our football field. That's what Bear Bryant and these folks were saying. That's why I tell y'all, I got such issues with the league. So it's going to be, and y'all already was just now, people felt like you just giving people courtesy interviews. You still being racist in your hiring decisions, but, you took the interview. And a lot of them brothers have started declining the interviews because they were saying you still doing the same thing. You just dressing it up. But people, and when the Florida Attorney General comes out and says, the fans don't care about the race of the quarterback or the head coach. They just want someone who's going to help us win. Gone with that. I care that I'm not reflected in your hiring practices. That was just like the question that some white Democrats had to be told when they were saying, hey, if the redistricting happens and they end up putting, collapsing some of these, heavily black districts and stretching them over into white districts and making it less of a chance for a black candidate to win and a white, Democrat wins. Are you saying you guys wouldn't be okay with the white Democrats representing your district? No, what I'm saying is I don't need you to speak for me. I can speak for myself. And why would I be creating a situation where I draw myself out of the equation? I don't need you to represent me. Are y'all going to let me come out there and represent y'all? So even some white Democrats had to be educated about, you think it's okay for me to walk in a building and not see black people reflected in this building when our tax dollars come in here to make this state work? But we not reflected in the staff. We not reflected in the elected officials. We not reflected in the leadership. The only place you can see us is at night after 5:30 when the janitorial staff come in. And that's true. I worked late most nights at the Capitol. I would frequently tell people, even though I would go to work at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, my actual work day for me didn't start until 5:30. Because it was when the staff finally left the office, the interns finally left the office, that I could take care of the projects that I needed to, because throughout the course of the day, I'm answering questions, I'm helping other people, I'm checking assignments, I'm following up on work. And so my work didn't begin till like 5:30 at night. So I would be in the Capitol 8:30, 9, 10. I could pull out of the Capitol at 11 o'clock with no problem. Headed back to Milwaukee. One of the things that I would see consistently, that building would go almost all black and brown after 5 o'clock, 5:30. All of the environmental staff coming through, cleaning them offices, and they weren't, just like African Americans. They was usually like Africans Folks that were here that were like Ethiopian, Nigerian, from other countries that were here. But that Capitol, you would think you was on a plantation, the way that damn Capitol would become so black at night. But during the day, during the business hours, you could count all of us on 2 hands. And sometimes legislators and staff. You could count us on 2 hands and maybe throw in a foot. You go into these HR departments, Capitol Police, all these places, you wouldn't see no black folks. So somebody had to say, hey, is something going on in your hiring practices that all the black folks is your cleanup staff and not getting access to any of these other roles at Milwaukee County? Before they started their Office of Equity, somebody was paying attention to who was getting all the contracts, who was all the people in upper management and leadership, who was getting promoted, and it didn't frequently look like people of color. The Rooney Rule in football was no different. People questioning, so you mean to tell me we smart enough to play the game, but we can't coach the game? That's what you saying? Huh. Now you're going to have to interview some folks. Because that's all that all these programs have been about. Didn't nobody say hire nobody that was unqualified, inferior in terms of capability? What they said is you're not even giving people the opportunity to apply. You tossing my resume or ignoring me as a candidate before I ever get a chance to submit the application. I'm being discounted. So when all these people got their panties and their boxers in a bunch about diversity, equity, and inclusion, what it said is you need to have jobs. You need to have positions that reflect the communities that you serve. You need to not be racist and prejudiced and biased in your hiring practices. Just like we talk about frequently with the trades. Black folks come to the trades formally, academically trained later in life because the trades made sure they kept their official ranks close to black people. You couldn't go to MATC to be plumber, electrician, whatever your trade was, unless you got referred and recommended by somebody from the trades. White boys closed ranked and kept brothers out. They kept women out. This goes into the 70s. So what these programs said is we're going to take affirmative steps to ensure that everybody is getting an opportunity to apply for the job. Which just for a moment, if I can be messy, leads me back to some of my problems sometimes with the unions. And why when they catching hell, sometimes I just sit and look because I think about running for office, which I always bring up. Unions will not interview all candidates fairly who are applying or who's trying to run for office. They decide who they pick is, and they won't even talk to anybody else, even if those people are in the same party. But as I say, if a union individual goes on a job and I refuse to interview them, y'all will be trying to sue me. Y'all be on BS too. Your members never get to hear from another candidate, even though they in the same political party, because y'all deciding who should have an opportunity. But if I did it to your union members, all of y'all behinds would be crying. No, I'm not interviewing them for the job. I have my pick. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I gotta take a break because I'm getting directions from, the traffic controller, Mr. DeBow. Jermaine, they making fun of you. They making fun of you. Yeah. They got you on camera looking crazy. So I'm gonna take a break. But I just want to see what the NFL gonna do, y'all. And then I want to see what y'all gonna do when the NFL sell y'all out. I'll be right back. All right, family, welcome back to the show. So in these last few minutes, and today is my early day, so I get out of here a little bit early this morning. This story, I just couldn't. I was gonna try to do something local, but I'm just on the national, you know, journey today. Um, so remember the hoopla, the big tada when Jeremiah Wright, who was then, Barack Obama's pastor, uh, got caught up in all this controversy because he criticized American foreign policy and racism. In his remarks, he said, and we remember this well, quote, "Goddamn America." Well, let me say it right. "Goddamn America" for its treatment of people of color, and what he said about, the government line about 9/11, creating drugs in our communities. He said some more stuff, but that's what, he was talking about chicken coming home to roost. I talked about 9/11 earlier. He blamed the U.S. military policy for the 9/11 attacks, suggesting that the nation's past actions, specifically mentioning the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, resulted in terrorist acts. He talked about government conspiracies, giving us drugs and building bigger prisons and passing the three strikes law. He critiqued white America as, US of KKK. So that's what Jeremiah Wright said. So Barack Obama gets, scorched because you connected to this man who's saying this racist stuff. Okay. Um, and Barack Obama, at the assistance of Jeremiah Wright, distances himself from Jeremiah because Jeremiah, like, look, I understand the assignment. We got bigger stuff that we trying to get done. So, bruh, go on, step away. Don't let these people attacks on me become a distraction and hurt you. Okay. So why is it that when white pastors, these Christian nationalist pastors, say crazy stuff, that no one has to step away from them? So many of you may have heard that Pete Hegseth, the drunker, abusive, allegedly, person who is running the Department of Defense, who was unfit and unqualified. His pastor recently called for the guy who beat Jasmine Crockett in the Texas primary, James Tallarico, that was his name. He recently called for his death. He recently called for the death of another legislator. And the pastor suggested, more specifically, that Tallarico should be, quote, crucified. Crucified. The pastor's name, evangelical pastor Brooks Poitiger. He's a spiritual advisor to Pete Hegseth. It ain't nothing spiritual or faith oriented about Pete Hegseth raggedy behind. But let me not digress because I only got a little bit of time left. But he went after Tallarico, who is a faith leader himself. He's Presbyterian, seminarian, because of his interpretation of the Bible and defense of transgender minors. He was on a podcast. And this pastor goes on to say, he prays that, quote, God kills Tallarico. And then he I guess the podcaster says, ultimately, that means killing his heart and raising him up to a new life in Christ. The pastor, because see, the podcaster trying to save this pastor, because the podcaster realized what you're saying is out of order. But the pastor doubles down. We want him crucified. with Christ. The podcaster again says, you're saying you want death and new life. The idiot pastor who is not catching that the podcaster who's interviewing him is trying to say, hey, fool, you are advocating for this man's death on air, out loud. So when he says, you mean you want him to have death and new life, the ignorant pastor says, quote, if it would not be within God's will to do so, stop him by any means necessary, oh God. So there's that. There is that. There is that. Folks have hit me up because the UN has done a resolution, and I'm going to try to tie this in. UN did a resolution on yesterday. I saw it, got a lot of attention, that adopted landmark resolution that formally declares the transatlantic slave trade as, quote, the gravest crime against humanity. It was spearheaded by Ghana, backed by the African Union and CARICOM, and it represents a major shift in the way the UN has recognized historical injustices and the ongoing impacts of racialized chattel slavery. So, key provisions of the resolution to formally recognize the trafficking of enslaved Africans, racialized child slavery as this, again, gravest crime, urging action on reparations to include apologies, compensation, and the restitution of cultural artifacts, because we know that not only did they steal Black people, but steal Black bodies, they stole Black art. They stole Black artifacts and have them in their museums around the world. And in America, you know, there have been, I forgot that official term of when you give back artifacts that were stolen from the African, you know, people. But there's an actual term for it. I can't think of it right now. So yes, somebody asked me had I seen the order about Trump's removal of slavery images and exhibits from the U.S. national parks. Yep, I had seen that. I'll talk about it more. We've been talking about some of it. You know, what he's trying to do in the Smithsonian and purge it basically of anything that makes white people look bad in this country, particularly in connection to slavery. So that's a great, you know, way to say that this resolution, which passed with 123 votes in favor, and they were again led by the African group of countries and Caribbean nations. But who voted against it? The United States, Israel, Argentina, citing concerns over what they called, quote, a hierarchy of crimes and the legal implications of reparations, because you don't want to have to pay for what you broke. The United Kingdom, stand up folks that they are, and the EU, they abstained because, you know, we don't want to make nobody mad, so we just gonna ride the middle of the fence. But who's against this UN resolution? The United States, Israel, because, you know, we don't want to get into a match about what was worse, the transatlantic slave trade, or the Holocaust in relationship to Jews. The numbers, roughly 12 to almost 13 million Africans, they believe, were shipped across the Atlantic. 1.5 to nearly 2.5 million dying during the voyage. Millions more died during capture, inland transport, and when they were brought to the Americas. The total number of people directly impacted over the 400-year trade, because it wasn't just the slave trade. It was Jim Crow and black codes and everything up until the fact that black women don't get the right to vote to 1965, which was in my lifetime. All this is still coming off the heels of slavery. So when you think about overall impact, they estimate that number now goes well beyond 20 million people that have been impacted as a result of the transatlantic slave trade. And we know that the numbers are staggering on the side of, Jewish Holocaust victims, survivors. 6 million is one number that we have frequently heard. So while I understand people saying we don't want to talk about the hierarchy of crime, we do have to be willing to acknowledge that in our legal systems, we do make valuations on crimes. We do pay attention to impact on crimes. We do talk about harm and the fact that this country, somebody says, shout out to Ghana. That's right. The fact that this country has saw fit to try to figure out in some way, shape, or form how to compensate almost every group for past atrocities but black folks. So the only way y'all really was trying to atone for your nonsense was through affirmative action. See how I brought it back? Was through affirmative action program, diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, because it didn't cost you nothing to interview us. It didn't cost you nothing to let us get a job in the C-suite for real. It didn't cost you nothing to let us get into universities that you kept us systematically out of, and we had to go and create historically black colleges and universities, or y'all created them, so we didn't come to y'all main schools. You see how that came full circle? You see? So when the United States says, nah, we don't want to acknowledge the travesty of slavery, because they know they got to pay if they do. Because everything in this country is built on you paying when you mess up. So the Japanese folks held in internment camps, we got some money for y'all. The Chinese people that got subjected to racism, we got some for y'all. The indigenous people, we stole your land, we did this. It ain't everything you should get, but we got some on it. But what group of people do they refuse to pay? Black folks. So when somebody says, consider this black guy for the head coaching job, because again, that don't really cost us a whole lot. Put some black players in the quarterback positions, because that don't really cost us a whole lot. Get some of these black kids into these universities, or, hire some black folks in county management positions, because that don't really cost us a lot. DEI initiatives was white people's response to, we don't want to pay for reparations. We don't want to pay for what we wrongfully did for the transatlantic slave trade. So while this new group of white folks want to tell people that DEI is about wokeness, and DEI is about, people that are inferior getting jobs. No, what DEI was about, white folks not admitting that they was wrong for slavery, and that they didn't have the internal fortitude, I was about to say something else, to do right by people that they had wronged. So I'll sprinkle a little something on y'all. I'll give a few of y'all some homes. You can get access to home loans, even though I'm going to charge you more than I charge everybody else with similar credit, or you got better credit. But I'm going to do a little bit, because if we have to, as a nation, come back and make it right, what we did for our role in the transatlantic slave trade, it'll be costly. So DEI And black folks, y'all remember what I'm saying. And when you in these rooms, I hope you consider spitting it back in the way I'm talking about it. DEI wasn't about giving black folks access. It was about white folks not being willing to pay for what they had done when they had black folks in slavery. So I'm going to do just a little bit. I'm going to do just a little bit to make it seem like we realized we was out of order for putting y'all in bondage. We realized we was out of order for breeding y'all like cattle. We realized we was out of order because we made y'all live outside or in them sheds and we was beating y'all and lynching y'all. We realized we was out of order for some of the BS that we did. So you know what? Instead of giving you some money and some real reparations or redress, we'll let a few of y'all get into college. We'll let a few of y'all get into the C-suite. We'll let a few of y'all get into law school. We'll let a few of y'all get into the trades. We'll let a few of y'all get elected to public office. But y'all ain't getting no money. We're not going to apologize and say we was the hell wrong and out of order. Somebody said, and now we want to codify into Wisconsin state law that anti-Semitism is an issue. You see that full circle? You see it? But at some point, we as black folks have got to start deciding when and where do we speak up and insert ourselves into this conversation. And the folks that are supposedly our allies, instead of sitting back in the cut and reaping the benefits of all this newfound, protection of the Jewish community and, anything anti-Semitic, we got to destroy it. And we, Netanyahu burning down whole countries because you scared somebody don't like Jewish people, but it's okay for everybody else to be disliked. So some of our allies that's sitting back in the cut, reaping all the benefits, when y'all gonna say something? Because I don't need to be okay and protected at the expense of everybody else being messed over. All you black folks watching the NFL can't live without it. When the NFL gets rid of the Rooney rule, what y'all gonna do? What y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna keep watching because Jay-Z gonna give you a good halftime show. Shake your ass. Watch yourself. Shake it fast. Show me what you're working with. Because they ain't like us. You're gonna get a good halftime show. And I think even that is coming to an end. But when policies are instituted and these companies are going along like they have no choice, and they actually do, because without companies, these elected officials have no campaign contributions. Without companies, these elected officials don't get all of these perks and golf courses and, special accommodations in the TSA lines and, how many get your mama house paid off like Clarence Thomas did and your nephew a free college tuition. Like all of these perks go away the minute companies and wealthier people decide to stand up to what we see happening in this country. Me telling Florida, I'm not coming to Florida no more because y'all got racist practices means nothing. The NFL telling Florida, we're not going to play another game in your state as long as you pushing this agenda. And for every state that's on that, we won't be there. And yep, you're going to lose some fans. But if you think about the big cities, the big cities should be able to help hold you down. California got 40 million damn people in one city. In one state. California is a country in terms of what they do in terms of GDP and money generated in that state. They got more wealth in that state than many smaller countries. So I'm wrapping the show. But there are some real and definitive things. We are watching the continued hypocrisy because nobody's going to call for Pete Hegseth's pastor to be isolated and banished to the Netherlands. Like they wanted Jeremiah Wright basically put in jail because he said goddamn America. They're not going to do that. You call for a whole person to be killed. And what did I say? Y'all hide it under the guise of the Bible. Stop putting Jesus and the Lord in your mess and your racism and your bias and your prejudice. Stop. So that's the show for the day. And that's actually the show for the week. I want to remind people, because I'm not going to be here on Monday, if you can, please go to the candidate forum over at the King Center. It is hard to get these candidates to come hear what we think about the issues or for us to hear from them in person directly. Yesterday was supposed to be the only joint debate event that was done with Judge Lazar and Judge Chris Taylor, who are running for the state Supreme Court. And Judge Chris Taylor actually got sick, had to be taken to the emergency room, and she had kidney stones. So they have said that she is going to be okay, but the debate last night got canceled, and it has already been rescheduled for April 2nd. Go. We work hard to make these people respect us. But if we don't show up, I can't, and other groups can't advocate for people to come. So go on March 30th at 5:30 over to the King Center to meet Judge Lazar, hear from her. And on April 4th, go over to the King Center again at 4:30 to hear from Judge Chris Taylor. That's the show. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate y'all. Man, y'all was getting down on these comments. I wasn't even looking. But I appreciate y'all. Clark.
We went.
Yeah, all day, babe. All day. I was with you.
Thank
Byron.
you.
He gone? Oh, you got deuces up in the air. I appreciate you, fam. And you said if I see you, I'll have to tell about the movie on Monday, but I'll make sure that I do. He said watch the movie about Otis Moss's grandfather, trying to vote back in 1946. So I'll make sure that I get that information. All right, family, that's the show. I'll talk to y'all in a week. Peace.